So I had the
Mm.
self-realization that like nobody's going to do it for you in the simplest form. You can make $1,000,000 if you contact 10 people a day. Go to your kids, tell them something like this. You're not worthy of me achieving my goals, and see how that feels.
That's going to be the hardest conversation to have.
And my routine is I get up every day at 4:30. I get on my I am statements. I get in my Bible. I have my
Wait,
coffee.
hold on. Did you just say 4:30? Phone Warriors Nation, this is an exciting podcast today. You know why? Because we have the A-team team leader, Amber Harvalias. Hopefully I said that right. And Amber, welcome to the Phone Warriors community, Nation.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here today.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit of how you got into the business and what your team is doing for this year goal wise and what you're looking to achieve.
So I started out in real estate in Ohio, grew up very young parents, but my parents like bought houses, renovated houses, flipped them, lived in them for a few years. They bought land, subdivided land. So I grew up just around people that like did real estate. And then I just fell in love with real estate. And once I graduated from the Ohio State University, I went to school for interior design and finance. And I just felt myself drawn back to real estate. So I did an internship with a builder in Dublin, Ohio, got brought in from like the marketing team into the sales side of things and just thrived and loved it. The market crashed in '08. I found myself just in a life position where I was in a really rough relationship. I couldn't escape it. I was about 23, 24 years old. My dad had just moved to North Carolina. He took an engineer position at the local Honda plant here. And I just really like asked God to give me a direction. And it was like a few weeks before my dad said he was moving here. And he just kept saying, come to North Carolina, come to North Carolina. My builder at the time was actually starting a community in Chapel Hill. So I moved here. He said, you're not going to have a job right away, but like move to North Carolina, pass your real estate test. And by the time you do all that, the neighborhood should get up and running. Well, we all know what happened in that '08, '09 timeframe. So I moved here, passed my real estate test, did not have a job. So I went back to my sales, essentially trainer and asked him like, what other builders do you know here locally? So he got me on with a builder in Raleigh, started with a company called Orleans Home Builders. And then the market crashed here in like '09. By then I had met my now husband. He was an entrepreneur and he shoots it straight. And at the time I was driving to and from Raleigh. Gas was $4 a gallon. And he was like, what the hell are you doing? You're not making any money. Like you're going in the negative. And you're also like not building anything for yourself. You may be learning a lot, but you're not building a business. Like you're building somebody else's business. Even though I grew up around my parents like doing real estate, they weren't entrepreneurs. They still worked corporate America. So he quickly told me like, quit your job. We were together like 6 months at the time. He told me, quit your job, come work for me, learn the community here, network with yourself with the community here, and start your own business. And crazy enough, that's what I did like 17 years ago.
Wow. What made you put the trust in him to take that leap of faith?
No, that's a good question. I think sometimes you just have people. So let me rewind and say this. I'm strong in my faith. When I moved here, I was like in my Bible. I had I am statements written out. Like, I am going to be the top real estate agent here. I am going to marry a tall, dark, and handsome man. And I think sometimes you boldly ask for things and you receive it. And sometimes you're freaked out and you just don't step into it. And you're telling the universe no if you boldly ask for it and the universe brings it to you and you don't accept it. And I've witnessed that over my life. You know, I've had many big things I've asked for, and it's like, I swear to God. I mean, I would never have imagined that I would have met my now husband literally a month after I moved to North Carolina. Like, I was literally running outside 6 miles in the middle of the heat, about to die. And here comes this tall, dark, and handsome man with no shirt on. He just competed in a bodybuilding show with these flyers. And I'm like, oh God, keep running. Don't look, don't look. And I get home, and you remember MySpace. I get home, and I literally have a message from him, and he's very distinctive. You guys know what he looks like. Like, if you saw him one time, you're never going to forget. He's distinctive, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has these big earrings, which he still wears today. Just has a mohawk, just a unique look to him. And he had added me on MySpace. And I said, am I crazy or did I just run by you? And he's like, you're not crazy. I don't do this sort of thing normally. You don't know who I am. I'm like, no, I don't know who you are. Like in a little smart ass way. But I mean, I had boldly asked for it and I could have easily said no or not paid attention. But how much boldly ask for things and then the universe brings it to us. And then the fear and the self-doubt and the unworthiness just hits us right in the face and we walk away from it. And those pivotal moments when you ask boldly and the universe delivers it to you and you step into it, like you start to attract amazing things into your life because you have the faith that you deserve it and you know that everything else will be amazing and God will bless you. And that's really just how it works. This year, I'm boldly asking for 308 transactions on our team. Last year, we did about 176. I personally said, if I'm going to ask my team to go harder, um, my vision for this year is for me just to go deeper. If I'm going to ask my team to go harder and I'm going to go deeper, I'm also going to do more this year. So my personal production last year was around 100 units. This year, I'm striving to be 125, scaling up to like 150 for my personal production. But I'm also in a season of I'm asking my team to do bold things. I also have to do bold things because as a leader, you can't expect more out of your team than what you're doing yourself. And I'm at a point in time in my life where I can do 100 transactions pretty comfortably just because I have so many repeat business and a brand that has been built around me. But if I want to go to that next level, I have to do things differently and I have to get back on the phone. So I'm not only getting back on the phones to just do more of my own business, I'm also getting on the phones to tell people, like, I believe in the A team and what it can do for your life. It can change your life. And if you're a leader and if you're not doing those sorts of things, like, do you really believe that to your core? So I'm leaning into myself more and saying, okay, if I want to grow my business to the next level, I need to grow more people. And if I need to grow more people, I need to get, who we are and what we do out there at a much higher level and share it more and ask for it more boldly.
It's amazing, Amber. I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, it sounds like all you've been doing is winning your entire career, but I'm sure there's been bouts of doubt, bouts of things that are not going your way. Um, Take us through that journey mentally. Like, what do you say to yourself to get you out of a funk or get yourself to just have that self-reflection that you just talked about? And that self-awareness seems to be a learned skill. Where did you learn that from?
From failing over and over and over again and being at a place where, I was doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But if you want to that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting something different. And I found myself like in 08, 09, doing the same exact thing, showing up, going through the motions without purpose. And I would say without intention was the biggest thing. And I think you can come into an office. You can come into an office every single day. That doesn't make you successful. And my coach just asked me this question this past week. He said, what you're doing now is comfort. You're in a comfortable season. But what did you do that like made you a savage? And I said back in like 08, 09, like I didn't have any other choice but to be a savage because I moved here. I didn't know anybody. I had a little bit of college student loan debt. I had no job for a while. So my credit cards went up to like $7,000, which in today's world is probably like $20,000. And I was starting all over. So I had no other option. And my dad wasn't going to help me. My dad moved back to Ohio like 2 years after I lived here. And at that point in time, I had sold maybe 2 houses. I wasn't able to even like afford to live on my own yet at 25 years old. And I went to Steven, my now husband, but at the time he wasn't, and said, can I move in with you? And he said, no. And I'm like, okay. We were in a predicament at that point in time anyways of our life. But then he told me I couldn't move in with him. I knew I couldn't afford to live on my own. So like, what other choice did I have but to like go hard on me? So I had the self-realization that like, nobody's going to do it for you. The success is only going to come, like the only secret to success is like showing up and working hard. There's no other secret. So I just literally said, I'm going all in on me. I'm going to show up every day for me. I'm going to pour into myself. I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to work harder than anybody else. And the vision that I had created of like, I am going to be the top real estate agent in this area. I just started doing what other top real estate agents were doing and just made sure I did it more consistently and did it harder and was more creative and innovative. And honestly, I just looked to like, what were people doing in other areas, not just this one, and said, how can I replicate success of people in California or people in Ohio I already knew or people in Florida. How do I duplicate that here so I'm ahead of the curve? And I just kept my head down and I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And it's like one day I was driving down Church Street, which is like the main road here. And it's like, Lord, I've like figured it out. Like success is boring. All I've done is like work hard every single day, relentlessly, but also like never, ever, ever forgetting that feeling of like having to survive on your own with nobody else helping you. If you never forget like the what I call like the black pit of hell of like knowing that you're the only person there and you're
Mm.
also the only person that's going to get you out of there. If you can keep that vision of like working out of that hole all by yourself in front of you every single day. And if you go back to that place of like what got you that savageness, and if you can hold on to that and keep it in front of you, even when you start to get successful, if you can keep this vision in front of you, this is where I was at, like you'll stay savage no matter how much success you have around you. But it's easy to forget that. We want to forget those things, but you can't because that's what keeps you lethal.
How did you get yourself to come into that mindset and to allow yourself to be like, okay, it's okay to fail. It's okay to have this chip on your shoulder. Was it like engraved in you? Was it through, literature? Was it through other people? Was it through, Bible study? Like where did it come from?
A combination of things. So I grew up in a lot of trauma. My dad was very like physically and emotionally abusive. So I'd already learned like the fight or flight mechanism of like silencing the noise around you to figure out how to survive and thrive. So I'd had that in my natural DNA already. What I did when I moved here is I moved in with my father to try to like heal that relationship of like living around fear. I would say I did it mostly. I still held on to some stuff. My father passed away 2 years ago, and I still like hold on to some stuff that like holds me back in that fear. But when I moved here, I said like I'm going to fix it all. So I read a lot of books. I leaned into my Bible relentlessly. I still have like some of the same Bible verses on my vision board that I had 17 years ago, just to like make me always remember like you sometimes can't do it all on your own. You have to look elsewhere. You have to lean into your faith. You have to like surrender things at the feet of Jesus and just allow him to heal you and ask for it. Like boldly ask for it. And then you also just have to stay like expanding your mind. Because if my mindset was still at like the education level of the trauma and just really like the life, that I grew up in, like I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I had to learn how to like grow myself and also have a lot of self-awareness of like, what are my faults? What is holding me back? Because I think a lot of times we get in a situation where a life event occurs around you and it triggers you, but it's not this life event that's triggering you. It's something that like happened sometimes generations ago, not even in your lifetime, but it's things that
Mhm.
happened generations ago and or in your childhood trauma. And that's what's triggering you. And you have to slow down and ask yourself, were you guys just on the spring call by chance? Because it's crazy they just talked about this.
No.
Downline. So you have to ask yourself when there's emotions trigger, like where's that emotion coming from? And what is it I can learn from this emotion? And is it something I need to heal through and respond differently? And I think when I moved here and my whole childhood, all I grew up around was like emotional recklessness and really just like lack of emotional awareness. So one of the things I said to myself when I moved here is like, I want to get control of these emotions and I want to learn to control my mind because nobody had told me that I controlled this little supercomputer between my ears. And I longed and leaned in and went to like Zig Ziglar training, Brian Tracy training, mindset coaches. Um,
Great.
I just learned to like reprogram this crazy brain I had up here. So I wasn't in my natural default of fight or flight all the time with like emotional chaos up here. I was like, I'm in control of this and I'm gonna, even writing out powerful like I am statements. I started to live in the world that I wanted to live in and no longer the world that like was my actual reality. And when you start to do that, it's powerful. When you start to like say I am the top real estate agent or I am making $1 million a year, when you start saying those things, you start to see the world in a different lens. And what used to be maybe an obstacle or a hoop to jump through, or maybe a person that you felt like was just there taking your time, you now see them as opportunities of, I've asked for this. I wanted to step into this next version of myself. And when you do so, you're going to invite things into your life. And instead of being fearful or having imposter syndrome, you just have to step into them and embrace them. So it comes down to like, you have to have a totally different mindset about where it is you want to go. And when things are brought to you, just continue to move through them, regardless if you feel like you're worthy or capable or deserving. You just have to step into it. I still am like this. And, I still, as I said to myself, I turned 40 a couple years ago, and then my dad passed. So I had this like awareness of like, life is short and I have so much left inside of me. And I'm not going to let my childhood or my trauma or my emotions like hold me back. Like, I'm going all in. Well, when I decided to do that, what do you think happened?
The universe came to you.
Yeah. It came to me and brought me all these amazing opportunities, but it's like, I was like, ooh, let me have all this negative self-talk again, and let me get into my fear and let me get in the way. So just because you've mastered that once doesn't mean you've mastered it forever. And I think that's what many people fail to realize. This is like just going to the gym. Just because I go to the gym 5 days this week doesn't mean I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. I said to myself, I have got to get back to like the savageness that I started in 07, 08 that made me grow initially that first time. And I have to be relentless like that again on myself.
And that's incredible. This whole story and how you're stepping into not looking for an excuse not to work at your age now, being in the business, all the success you've had, you probably don't have to work from what I can tell. I don't know. Perceptions are a real thing, but let's just say that you have choices now that back in the day you didn't. And you've been working through so much stuff personally. Well, let's say there's an agent out there that comes to you and says, Amber, this whole savage thing I need, or I think I need. And let's say, but they don't have the same experience that you had because you had a have to. You had something in you that it was life or death, really, from what it sounds like. There was no other way. So it's amazing how the brain kind of works in that way, right? To your point, and then you're able to figure it out. But my question is, what would you say to people that maybe haven't gone through the hardships that you have emotionally, physically, etc., and then the ones that say they want to do big things, but yet they're not backing it up? Do they need to go through some tragedy? Do they need to do this thing, or what do they have to connect to in your life experience for them to succeed at the level that they want to be? Let's say I want to be like Amber. What would you say to that agent or that person?
So I'm going to answer this twofold. I'm going to tell you what I was doing, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing forward, because I'm in a season I would like learning to lead differently as well. You can invite people in and you can teach them all the things and you can expose them to all the knowledge that you have. That doesn't make them savage. You can tell them what you did. You can have them do their vision board. You can have them do their goals. But until you can get them to get real with themselves, it's hard for people to find what it is that gets them going. And I'm not here to like glamorize trauma. Trauma is horrible, but trauma also makes you savage because you have no other choice. But the people that have not had trauma, you have to find a purpose. You have to ask yourself and just really just have like a Holy Spirit moment of, if you're on your deathbed and you're sitting there reflecting back over your life, what is it you wanted your life to look like? And right now, if you were to die today, right now, what are the regrets you would have? Did you go hard enough? Did you do enough? Were you a good enough wife or a good enough husband? Did you put enough effort in that relationship? How did you show up for your kids? What sort of an example did you model for them? What did you pour into them that can change generations to come? And I think you have to, the people that haven't been through trauma, you have to get to that like deep-rooted soul of theirs to figure out what's going to ignite them and move them forward. That's what I've done in the past. However, as a leader, if you're creating a culture of just self-awareness, self-responsibility, and just coming from contribution all the time, you need to have an onboarding program that sets them up to fail quick if they don't have the drive inside. Because what happens otherwise is you bring people on your team and they start to dabble in success a little bit and they glorify that, but they really haven't gone all in. So what I'm doing forward is a 30, 60, 90 that makes them have like 20 to 40 contacts a day, every single day for the first 30 days. If they can get up and do that every single day, it shows me that they're committed and bought in and want to grow and they want to thrive and not just be here to be here. But I'm also doing the twofold. Like, I want to know why, but also show me. Because anybody can interview good and anybody can tell me that they want to be a rock star, but like, show me you want to be a rock star. Show me you're savage. And if you can put them in a conditioned environment that says this is what it takes to earn your spot on the A team, and they do it, then they've won. And you've won too. But if you bring them on and saying, you don't enforce the standards, and then they get here after their 90 days, and then all of a sudden they're not hitting your goals, well, shame on you as a leader for not enforcing the standards from day one. Because we all know a new agent's going to have to do a lot more work than like an agent like me that has repeat past clients. Like if I get on the phone and call 40 people a day, Lord have mercy. Like it would be, too much.
Maybe raining leads and opportunities.
Yeah, it's too much. I don't even want to think about it. I mean, maybe that is what I need to do. But new agent, and that's what my coach asked me this week. What did you do as a new agent? I didn't have anything else going on. I didn't have a team to lead. I didn't have 20 some listings. I didn't have several buyers. I didn't have all these pending. I didn't have other people to lead. All I did was lead gen all day long.
Yes.
For years. That's all I did. You shouldn't be doing anything else. All you should be doing is lead genning, and then don't ever stop. So if you can make people do that from the get-go and they show that they're committed to that, they find their purpose. You don't just wake up day one and I didn't just walk into real estate and be so in love with it and just so passionate and purposeful about it day one. It came because I relentlessly grinded and showed myself what success looked like. And then when I got successful, my purpose became blessing other people and pouring into other people and being able to give back to my community and realizing like I have a lot of knowledge in me. I can be pouring into other agents and other business owners. And then your purpose just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. But until you find that, I would say, self-confidence in yourself that you're able to bring other people and until you have that knowledge that you can pour into other people, you got to be all about you and pouring into yourself and your business. And you have to go at it hard every single day.
I feel like it's everything. By the way, everything you dropped was pure gems. These are, crystals that were turned into diamonds, you just created. But what would you say? I feel like a lot of agents just get distracted. Like when their 2 feet are in somewhere, like let's say the office, their mind is somewhere else, right? And it looks like you mastered that ability to be like where you are. That's where you have to be. So like, how would you tell somebody, or better question, what did you do? Because it sounded like you had this. How did you engulf yourself to be present exactly where you were?
I'm going to show you. And this was an aha we just had in our team meeting this week. So I've made my team create goals. I've made them create vision boards. But I said to them, do those goals and vision boards really give you a tie down to like who it is you want to be and the vision of yourself? Like hitting those goals, what does that make your life look like? I have lived by I am statements.
And are you writing that down every day, or are you just reading it?
I do not write it down every day. It would be way more powerful if I did, but I read it out loud every day. And anytime I feel myself drift or start to get distracted or just my energy's off, I like go to them. And I've done this for like 17 or 18 years. And this makes you like stay true to who you are and who you want to be. Because we live in a world that gets us distracted every time we pick this stupid thing up. And then we're not going in the direction we want to go. And then we start to feel like all the weight of the world come upon us because we know where we want to go. And then we start to have the anxiety that we're not going there because our soul wants us to go there. But like our world up here is not controlling what's happening around us.
Mm-hmm.
And then anxiety hits us of we're not doing what we need to do when we need to do it. And I'm just a huge believer. When it's time to work, you work. When it's time to be a wife, you be a wife. When it's time to be a mom, you be a mom. It's not a and or situation. You don't have to give up your life at home to be successful. You can be both at a very high level. I can be a boss mom and still produce at a high level and run a team at a high level and be an amazing mom and be an amazing wife. You don't have to give it up. And I think when you live according to this, you'll quickly, your I am statements, not that stupid phone, the I am statements, when you live according to that, you can say no a lot easier because you realize what is distracting you is not getting you to where you want to go. And when you read it every day and say it out loud every day and visualize yourself as that person, things start to annoy you when they're not meant for you.
You are on the surface to everyone listening to this, probably looking at you and seeing everything you're doing.
Yeah.
You're winning. You're winning,
Mhm.
winning. However, take me back. Take me back in time when you were in that grind build mode. Because there's a lot of agents and phone warriors that we have in our community, a lot of agents that we coach and train, agents that come to us asking questions. And I want them to hear from you, because given your experience, what did your schedule look like when you were in build mode back then?
My schedule still looks like that.
Well, when you go,
You know what I mean?
okay,
Like, I
this is
may look like
perfect.
I'm winning on the surface, but like I am not these I am statements yet. And I'm in the
Okay.
same position as I was in 07, 08. So like my schedule and my routine is I get up every day at 4:30. I get on my I am statements. I get in my Bible. I have my
Wait,
coffee.
hold on. Did you just say 4:30?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Continue.
4:30 a.m. Get
Not
up every day
PM.
at 4. No, a.m. a.m. I do all that for about 30 to 45 minutes. And then I go do my morning cardio fasted for another 40 minutes. I come in, have my breakfast, get ready. Um, I take my kids to school, make my husband breakfast, pack everybody's lunches. I'm at the office by 8 to 8:10 every day. And the first 2 hours of my day every day are moving my business forward. Lead gen, lead follow-up, converting people, finding off-market deals, touching base with past clients. And then usually from 10 o'clock on, it's team meetings, appointments, whatever that looks like. Every day, well, 3 days a week, I go train at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I try to have all of my business done by then, unless I have to go on a listing appointment. Rarely. I usually try to do my listing appointments between 10 a.m. and 3. Tuesday, Thursdays, I pick up my kids by 3 o'clock at school. I don't do appointments on the weekend anymore unless I have to. And I usually go home then after my kids are like settled down from snacks and after I've worked out. And I usually do work a few more hours, usually from like 5 to 6:30. I work, do more follow up, reach out to people that maybe can't talk during the day, get my to-do list ready for the next day. And then I'm usually spending time with family from 6:30 to 10:30, 11, and then I go to bed.
11 o'clock, you're not even sleeping by
Yeah.
then?
Mm-mm. Usually, because I have a husband that's a night owl.
Well, one of my questions, my direct questions would be, some of the people hearing this would say, well, it's impossible to be able to get appointments by like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, or people are at work, or, people can't meet. So do you think you're losing business because you're not going to appointments at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. at night?
No.
Why is that?
We as people make so many excuses. Do you go meet with the doctor at 6, 7 o'clock at night? No, you
No.
go on schedule. Do you go meet with your wealth advisor at 6 or 7 at night? No. Usually their last appointment's at 3, 4 o'clock. We live in a world that we just make every excuse in the book to not control our calendar. And we allow everything to come up against us that says we can't or that they won't. When you learn to control your time, you learn to master your life. And I'm just a huge believer in that. I mean, I do give on it sometimes, but very, very rarely do I give on it. I mean, most people will adjust their schedule to meet with you.
Were you ever coached or trained by anyone specific to get you thinking in this also patterns and ways and everything back in the day?
No, I
So
just see it myself and learn from so many people.
so there was not like, okay, there was a specific coaching company. There wasn't like a, hey,
Mm.
like, it was just a mishmash of different trainers and coaches and speakers and different ideas that you've heard. and you
Yeah.
made it yourself. So who holds you accountable? Let's say besides your husband or your
Yeah.
even or your kids. But I mean, like, do you have a coach right now? Do you have coaches that coach you?
I just hired a coach again for the first time since I came to EXP. So I've had a coach since I was at KW till the end of 2022. Came to EXP and have just been like absorbing so much knowledge. But then I said to myself, like I pay we own a gym. I have a home gym. I have gym equipment around me. That doesn't make me show up at the gym and train hard. So I have a trainer that I've paid for years to train me. And then I just started like diet coach that holds me accountable. So what I said to myself, if I'm going to level up my business, like I have got to get somebody that holds me more accountable. It's not that I don't know the information. It's just I need the accountability. And I also need somebody to keep this up here right.
You pay for the accountability.
Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing? Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Amber, because that's why I asked that question, right? What
Yep.
I was getting at with that question is I want everyone to hear this because we're hearing this from everyone else. They either don't want to pay for the accountability. It's not like Amber's made it. There's no arrival, right? Right. So go back into the savage mindset, if you wouldn't mind. Can you talk to, like, let's say you have 10 agents that
Mhm.
could be seasoned, veteran. They're all sitting in front of you in a line, and you have to tell them one or two things. And let's just go into that savage mindset. Okay, besides lead genning, everything else, is there anything that you've heard that's not talked about that you've had from your experience that you're like, look, this is what really works?
No, success is very simple. Like, how many contacts have you made and how are you growing yourself and your business today? Those are the only two things that matter.
I'm looking for a different answer, Amber.
Well,
Come
there's
on
not,
now.
I'm sorry.
It can't be that easy.
There's no hocus pocus to
How
success.
about this question to follow up exactly what you said? In a normal day, how many follow-ups do you have?
Well, let me show you my contact sheet.
I'm just curious. It's around the bad number.
Let me look. Oh, let me show you last week. We've had snow this week, so the world stopped here. I know it doesn't stop in y'all's world, but like if the grass is covered here, we don't work. This is
So
my
yeah,
simple little contact sheet.
Oh my gosh. Are you telling me you do manual entry?
Well, I have Sisu too, but yeah, I write it down because simple is never
Look at
broke.
that,
so look
guys.
at that. It's 11 to 12 contacts. Basically, what I want to say is you don't have 40, 50, 60 follow-ups you have to make in a day. You have
Oh,
10, 12 qualified people that are willing and able to potentially do something within the next 30, 60, 90 days. Is that accurate to say?
consistently.
Consistently.
Because what happens is a lot of people come in and they'll do 10 and 12 one day and they like pat themselves on the back. Keep going. That's, let me ask you this. If you could walk into this career guaranteed to make $1 million, how would you show up?
Mm.
And if your boss said, if you want to make $1 million and all you got to do is contact 10 people a day, every single day, would you do it? Because to
Absolutely.
be transparent, that's the reality of our business. In the simplest form, you can make $1 million if you contact 10 people a day.
You
How did
can.
you build your skills, Amber? What did you do to work on the actual skills and how you communicate to clients, and what did that look like?
So the
Skill
beautiful
development.
thing is my first few years of real estate was in new construction. So
Mm.
what the new construction world looks like, you learn a lot of skills. You learn a lot of sales training, NLP training. You learn personalities. You learn how to meet, greet, approach, fact find, like whatever your buyer consultation or listing consultation looks like. And you learn a lot about just the language of leading people with confidence is what it comes down to. And I think a lot of people come into general brokerage and they never have any sort of sales training. All they did was like pass the test and learn how to stay out of real estate jail, but they haven't really learned how to sell. They haven't learned how to work with people. They haven't learned relationship skills. All real estate is meeting people where they're at, figuring out like what are the fears or questions they have and giving them knowledge to move past it so they feel confident and led with authority by you, knowing that you're going to help them make the best decision that will impact them for generations to come. Because real estate is the largest indicator of wealth movement in our world. But you have to learn so much to be able to say that. And it's not like, I'm not going to give you a textbook and you learn that. A lot of this is going to be learned by experience of like, you got to get out and talk to people. You got to learn other personalities. you have to learn by failing sometimes. Because there's many times I'd walk away from an appointment and was like, yeah, I was in the way. Like just let them buy the house or tell them to buy the house. Because really, those are the only two types of people. There's either people that need to be told they need to buy the house, or you just need to get out of the way and let them buy the house. And you just do what you need to do. But we complicate it because the reason why we complicate it is because we're not confident or we don't have enough self-awareness that we're really just not leading people how they need to be led.
Yeah, so like you just said, the reason why you don't have a lot of transactions is because you don't talk to a lot of people. Talk to
Yep,
more people, have a lot of deals pending. Kind of
that's
that
all.
simple.
When I started as a new agent, I would ask all the agents in my office to let me do every single open house. I worked phone duty all the time. I went on every appointment they didn't want to go on because I said, I'm going to allow this to be my training. Like, this is where I'm going to learn the gold. And I think so many agents now walk in like, I only want to work with $300,000 and up buyers, and I want to do luxury homes. Well, sweetheart, that's only about like 20% of my business. And if you really want to learn and grind and network with more people, you're going to have to sell lower price point homes. And you're going to have to learn to meet people where they're at and really just learn on certain people. I mean, I was talking to a top producer yesterday and she said, I want to grow my business. And I went on a for sale by owner appointment. And she said, I didn't care if I lost the listing because it was a for sale by owner. It wasn't like a past client or anything. And she said, I allow that for sale by owner appointment to be a point in time where I could like really self-reflect on my presentation, on my ability to listen to people, on my ability to overcome their objections. Like, unless you're role playing at a high level, not just reading off a sheet of paper, but like role playing with intention, you're going to role play on people, like in the general public. So as a new agent, you need to put yourself in front of as many opportunities to role play in reality as you can, because that's where the gold of really learning and gaining confidence lives.
So Amber, okay, so let's say I'm a single dad. I have kids. You have kids, beautiful kids, by the way. You have kids. You have a gorgeous husband. You're welcome. And with
Yeah.
all that being the case, it's like, but what if? Well, you're doing all these things. Your husband has a full-time business. You have a full-time career in business here. How do you manage it all? Like what do you say to those single parents or those parents that seem they can't they just, oh well, the kids are my excuse. I can't do my production because of my kids, and they blame the kids for their reasons that they're not successful. And then you see you and your husband. I'm like, well, that is dispelled now. But what do you say to those people?
Go to your kids and tell them something like this. You're not worthy of me achieving my goals, and see how that feels.
That's going to be the hardest conversation to have.
But that's what you're telling them if you're not getting up and going hard every day.
Well, but Amber, no. But you don't understand. I mean, I have, I feel like I'm not gonna love on them. Not giving enough time. I'm not giving them enough attention. Like, are they gonna grow up to be like me? What say you?
So I'm a believer in bringing your kids into your business because nothing is ever going to teach them the skill set that you are. School, even if you send them to the best of schools, they're not going to learn people skills. They're not going to learn competence. They're not going to learn self-worth. They're not going to learn financial stuff. They're not going to learn people. I'm going to tell you, I have a 5 and 6-year-old. I have a 6-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old. I'm going to show you this picture of my daughter yesterday. My daughter's my 5-year-old. But I have a 6-year-old son who's begging for a YouTube account so he can do videos on how to sell gym equipment already. And he goes to his dad's warehouse and he sets up his dad's phone, and Steven has like a little tripod and a little remote, and
I
he
saw
goes
it.
out to role play. Did you see it? And he goes out and role plays and he like wants Steven to post. So I told him, Manny, I'm not ready for you to have a YouTube account. And he said, so I have to negotiate with a 6-year-old. And he said, okay, well then maybe you can get me some business cards that look just like dad's and I'll start handing them out everywhere. Like, literally, that's what he does. I mean, they have door knocked with me. They're just not afraid. So yesterday, I was on Zooms all day. It's a snow day. I'm having to be on Zooms all day, learning, leveraging all the things with my kids at home. Well, I come out from one of my meetings, and my daughter has stolen my notebook with all my to-do list. And then she went and found a pair of glasses of mine.
She mimicked you.
And she's sitting at the table writing down everything that we were going over in our team meeting. And in her little handwritten note, we were talking yesterday about the power of your mindset. She wrote down these things at the top of the paper. Anxiety paralyzes you and you get critical of yourself. And then I made each girl on my team write down, like, what is an area that you want to grow? Like, what project are you focusing on with your life right now? And my daughter started to write those things out. And then my daughter woke up early this morning. She was beside me and I was doing my, what is it called? My meditation, the Daily J on the Calm app. And she's like meditating with me. If you have the ability as an entrepreneur to like pour that type of knowledge into your kids of mindset, of meditation, of removing limiting beliefs, like you sometimes don't realize if you embrace your kids in your world, like we have, they're going to give you a better self-reflection of who you are at your soul. Because at their age, the world hasn't gotten into them yet. Like they're not afraid about what people say about them if we post them on social media. They have no limiting beliefs. Their world is an open-armed book right now. And all they're longing for is knowledge and to create their dreams and for everything amazing to come to life. Are we as adults like that? No.
No.
We're so worried about failing. We're so worried about what everybody thinks of us. We're
Okay.
so like everything. So not only am I pouring into them, but they're also pouring into me. So there's no excuse for me not to get up and grind. There's no excuse for me to not show them my world and what it looks like because I'm changing their life. And that's powerful. Like that should be enough for you to get up every day and do what you do when you start to see your kids model after you.
All right. I mean, this has been amazing. My final question, Amber, for you, because seriously, I mean, the amount of nuggets and gems hopefully you guys got on this call was mic drops multiple times. And I will just say this. Let's say you had a time machine. You had to go back in time to your early 20s, let's say mid-20s self.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to go back and you had, look, I can only deliver one thing of value to you to say something to you now. And I want you to just hear this because I didn't believe it or see it when you were yourself back then. What is that one thing you're telling yourself back in the day that you know now?
Believe in yourself sooner.
All right. And I mean, it's very straight to the point. And for yourself, you wake up at 4:30 in the morning, you have a family, you're pouring into your team, pouring into yourself, your husband, and everybody else that's around you. Fast track, unfortunately, when we're not here, 100 years past when we're not here, what do you want your legacy to be known as? Like, what would you want to be engraved forever on your stone?
That I just did what God wanted me to do. I think so often we do what the world wants us to do. Like, and God speaks to your soul, he speaks to your heart. But unfortunately, we allow this to tell us everything else. And we allow our mind to distract us. And that's why I said back in my early 20s, like I had to learn to control this because I already had it in my heart. I just have to learn. We all have to learn to silence our mind and do like what God wants us to do. And at the end, you want him to say like, job well done. You were obedient to me. You weathered the storm well. You stayed true to your faith. You believed in yourself. You allowed me to love you. And you walked around like loving and pouring into others too. Because I think the worst thing you can ever do is just be filled up with so much information, but be afraid or scared to share it because you think it's going to make somebody else win and you're going to lose. The more you share and the more you pour into other people, the more you win too.
It is 100% true. Guys, I hope you listen to every single word that Amber has bestowed upon us and said on this podcast. Amber, I cannot thank you enough for spending almost an hour with us. Really, I mean, it's truly an amazing thing. And so for referrals or agents that want to reach out to you to join your team, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
So just call or text me, 336-263-4875. Follow me on Instagram, Amber Harvalias Realtor, I think is what my thing is. I should know that, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, we're going to put the number and the tags in there in the YouTube channel as well for everybody. So, hey, Amber, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amber. I appreciate